Daniel Andrews is not only the Premier of Victoria but also the member of Mulgrave. Daniel grew up in regional Victoria before moving to Melbourne to attend university. Daniel's father Bob was a beef farmer and an active member of the VFF. Daniel entered the Victorian Parliament in 2002 before becoming Minister of Consumer Affairs and Gaming and Minister of Health. In December 2010, Daniel became the leader of the Victorian Labor Party and was elected Premier of Victoria in 2014. Daniel and his wife Catherine have 3 children, Noah, Grace and Joseph. So put your hands together for Daniel Andrews.
Thanks very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks, David, for those very kind words of introduction. Yes, my father was a member of the VFF. Active would be one word to describe him. Others may choose other words, but he was a very proud member of this forum, and I'm delighted and equally proud to be here today just to share a few thoughts with you and to take your questions. Can I begin my remarks, of course, by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and pay my deep personal respects to elders past and present, to David and Brett, to all the VFF team, from an administrative point of view, different heads of different groups within the Federation, and to each of you as delegates and passionate members on behalf of your part of agriculture, your part of regional Victoria, that part of our economy that is so important for every single Victorian. Thank you so much for having us along. I know that Joel Crawford, I think, will be speaking with you, speaking to you at another point. She's here as well, and I will take this opportunity just to say how proud I am of the work that Joel does both as Agriculture Minister and Regional Development Minister. Ballarat's home for her, and it's terrific to have her with us here today, and I know that she has, through a lot of hard work and direct engagement, earned the respect of a group of people that are not easily impressed, and that is those who work across our agriculture sector, and I think that does her great credit. I don't want these to be a set of remarks where I simply go on a boast of all the things that we've done, but it is worth, I think, touching on a few of the achievements that have been able to be made, some of the circumstances that we face, because it is a positive story. Not without its challenges, of course, but it's a positive story, and one that has been crafted and created as much by you as it has by any public servant or any political figure. So I want to go through that a little bit, and then I've got a couple of announcements to make. One that's quite practical and I think very, very important, and another that talks about our approach in terms of making representations on your behalf to the Commonwealth Government, particularly as it relates to free trade agreements and how they might impinge upon some of the strengths of our market and some of the successes that we've had in recent times. So, having promised not to go through a long list of achievements, and there is a long list through the important partnership that we've always had with the VFF, I'll begin by thanking David and the team for what is a frank, honest, a very important professional partnership, but it's one that is based on trust. We listen, we learn, we understand the challenges that you face and the opportunities that they can be through hard work much, much better because of the relationship and the many partnerships that we have with the VFF, and I'm very grateful for that. Very grateful for that because every single Victorian benefits from that important partnership. If regional Victoria, if agriculture, and that as an umbrella term for so many different parts of your sectors, if it's travelling well, then our state is well set up for the future. I know and understand that, given my background, and I know and understand it when you simply look at the numbers and you look at the economic realities, the history of our state and where the growth and opportunity is. These sectors are very, very important to all of us, not those who are simply employed in them or those who live in communities that depend through that supply chain on a strong farming, livestock, agriculture, horticulture scene. Now, having thanked the VFF for that partnership and promised not to go through too many things that we've done, in aggregate terms, I'm so very proud to be able to stand here 3.5 years into our term in office and say that there's 45,000 extra jobs that have been created right across regional Victoria in these last 3.5 years. 45,000 regional Victorians who get the dignity and the purpose and the support that comes from employment. It's a simple thing, but it's such a powerful thing. And I'm not here today to make partisan comments, but the 4 years before we came to office, some 5,500 jobs were created across regional Victoria. That's a very stark contrast, and one that we should all be very proud of. The government directly employs some of those people, but of course industry, the private sector and all of our partners, so many of whom represented here today, do most of the heavy lifting with the right policy settings and support to get that job done. That's a very important outcome. I don't need to go through all the other statistics, you know them because you create them each and every year, but we are Australia's largest exporter of food and fibre. That's not just something that we should be proud of, but we should cherish and value that and protect it, and always make sure that we're working towards growing our percentage, our total economic worth when it comes to that export profile. This is of course all despite the fact that we have such a small percentage of the total agricultural land across our nation. It speaks to the very Victorian way in which, through our people, through partnerships, through innovation, research, development, the best of technology, we're able to deliver such high quality outcomes and to dominate our nation's landscape when it comes to an agricultural test. We do very much punch above our weight, something to be proud of and something to never lose sight of. That ingenuity, that practical focus on high quality and delivering results is something that the VFF has always impressed upon me. Regional communities have always impressed upon me whenever they've sought additional funding, additional support, policy changes, responses to new challenges. It very much defines the relationship, and our commitment today and all days is to continue that partnership and to continue that listening approach, that open door, and that very honest and frank and truthful relationship, one that I know is so very important to you and, by extension, each and every Victorian. Now, this year's budget, the fourth budget that we've had the great honour of delivering, provided some $4.3 billion for rural and regional Victoria. Really significant investments in lots of different areas that are central to regional Victoria thriving and prospering and taking advantage of all the unique assets and benefits that regional Victoria can boast. It also included another cut to regional payroll tax, taking regional payroll tax to half the rate of metro businesses, the lowest in the nation. A very clear message to current businesses who might look to expand and those who might look to relocate into regional Victoria. There's perhaps no better advertisement of how good a place regional Victoria is to invest than the lowest rate of payroll tax anywhere in our nation. It is very much about backing local jobs, local communities, and when you take it in combination with a profound investment in TAFE, knowing that all jobs start with skills, we are very well placed to make sure that regional Victoria gets well more than its fair share. It leads the way, in fact, in terms of new business attraction, new business investment, and all the benefits that come from that. The payroll tax cuts, investments in TAFE, the competitiveness of investing in regional and rural communities is in no small way a set of policies influenced by the consistent advocacy of the VFF, among others. Partnerships, as I've said, are very important. We are, as a state, growing. That does present some challenges. Spreading that growth, investing to support that growth in the most orderly way is a good problem to have. We do remember other times in our state's history when we were not growing, when we were in fact shrinking, when people could not get out of Victoria fast enough. We don't want to go back to that time. We want to instead manage growth, turn it from the challenge it sometimes presents as into the opportunity that we know it can be. Getting on and having a culture of urgency in government decision making and program delivery is critically important to that. And I think the further you get away from the centre of Melbourne, perhaps the more important that culture of action and delivery is. It's very popular to talk about growth and to bemoan the challenges of growth. I think that regional communities know and understand that if properly supported, if accompanied by infrastructure investments in hospitals and schools, TAFE, roads, logistics, as well as a whole range of industry-specific support programs and partnership programs, that growth is exactly what rural and regional communities need and exactly what our state needs in a broader context. I'll give you a couple of examples of things we've done in recent times which we are very proud of and which, again, have come from this dialogue and other discussions we have across the community. I'm very, very proud to know that following key representations from the VFF, when we were doing our housing affordability package around stamp duty and giving a much more level playing field and a better break for first home buyers, we made sure that young farmers did not miss out when it came to stamp duty credits, stamp duty cuts. We doubled the young farmer stamp duty exemption to some $600,000, and I know that that has been very warmly welcomed by those who are wanting to start a farming business, expand their farming business, go out on their own. That start's so very important, and it's about a sense of confidence and optimism for the future. It's a practical thing that we can do, and we're very pleased to have been able to do it. We know that there are other policy settings, other things that we can do that make a big difference in a very practical sense. Water is so often the topic of conversation because it is so relevant to so much to the life of regional communities from both an industry point of view or production point of view, but also the way people live their lives. The spirit and confidence, the well-being of the community is so often so closely linked to rainfall storage, to the way water moves around the community. It's very topical for good reason. We're very pleased as a Labor government to be extending the water network to Midiamo and the East Grampians region to improve water security for local farmers and the local community. It's one example in a very big and ambitious water infrastructure program. It's also an opportunity for me to mention how pleased we are through our outstanding Water Minister Lisa Neville, someone who I know values her partnership with the VFF, to stand so strong on the delivery in full of commitments made by all the signatories to the Murray-Darling Basin Plan. Not to have that plan undermined, not to have irrigated agriculture and the communities that depend upon irrigated agriculture undermined by bad behaviour and breaches of faith. Lisa is a champion of the irrigated agriculture sector and the environment and communities who rely upon water allocations. She is and doing a great job, and I'm very proud of the work that she's doing, and I know she's grateful for the fact that she is so well informed and so much better a minister because of her dialogue and discussion with this forum and indeed others. There are a whole range of other challenges that we've sought in partnership with you to rise to as well. Things like technology, communications, connectivity, making sure that the right infrastructure is in place so that individual farming enterprises can use that technology to increase yield, to increase productivity, to increase profitability, to deal with some of the changing climate issues we just saw on the screen a moment ago, and many other variable factors, each of which take a toll on farming businesses. We also know that whilst the domestic market is very important, our job is to grow that export pool. Every member of my cabinet has been to China in the last 4 years. I have been 4 times. This is